welcome to ShiftWatch. I'm your host, Starbuck. In this episode, recently I was invited to participate in the Ethereal Edge podcast hosted by Tara and Tracey. We covered my trip to Telos, as well as the energetic changes to the conditions we currently find ourselves in, while Earth is finishing the transition to her next level. There will be a follow-up interview with these ladies to cover my light being interactions, which is an idea you should all get used to having yourselves. That level of interaction with higher intelligence is just waiting for you to realize it's there. Next, after a period of relative quiet, the sun is showing signs of reawakening to higher levels of solar storm activity in light of the spots coming around the limb into Earth-facing position. Here's an update from suspicious observers and the Earth Master. Then, Dave Wallace shares some insight on connecting with beyond Earth sentience. And finally, Sharula Duck's Lemurian Princess on life in Telos and inner Earth transportation.
I'm under the understanding that when Lemuria finally sunk, preparations were made in Shasta for 2 million. Well, 2 million didn't make it. 25,000 made it. And since then, it appeared at the last time the count was somehow communicated to us, there were like 1.2 million Lemurians in Telos. They're just in another dimension. They're still very physical. And yes, they still procreate and have families, absolutely positively. He brought us up to a level where you've seen these cityscapes, photographs. I'm looking over the first level of Telos from this perspective. It's circular in orientation. Most of the structures here are crystalline in fashion. And in the smack dab middle of it is this huge white pyramid with a capstone on the top. You guys have no idea what's already here and has been here a lot longer than we have, waiting for us to just vibrate at the same level so they can share their technology. They think that there's great merit in humanity. There are 4 particles to our reality: time, light, gravity, and sound. Without others, this doesn't exist. But if you understand what binds them all together, you can influence them. He had a great way of helping us kind of understand that we can actually change the things. When we manifest here, we don't have command over these things yet, but I'm going to tell you what they are because you're about to have them again. We were told that this period of chaos would precede the next level we're getting to. Look around you, boys and girls. There's plenty of chaos to pick from. And it doesn't look like it's dissipating anytime soon. But all of that stuff has to be surfaced to be healed so we can move beyond it. I had to wonder, 2 years after those transmissions, when I was told I had 2 years, maybe through these mechanisms now, maybe those seeds, it's time to hatch. Because right now, with energetically how I feel this is going to be played out, we got like 18 months.
Good morning, folks. Today we're going to look at an atmospheric study that half the world won't want to hear. There's a new space weather monitor in play now, and we've got those tropical systems on the other side of the world. Of course, we're starting with the last 24 hours on our star. The central plasma filament briefly destabilized, looked like it was about to erupt, but he did get himself under control in the end. While the solar flaring remains low, along with solar wind and geomagnetic conditions, we've got our eyes firmly locked in on the sunspots. All of them are now confined to the incoming southern quadrant, bottom left quarter as we look at it, and more specifically, it's these new ones just cresting into view now. They are big and appear close enough together to have interaction potential among their umbral fields. Watching this region closely for flares and CMEs today. Up next, folks, we have a new coronagraph. Soho has been up since the 90s and is glitchy AF to say the least, but this new one is on GOES 19. It's been in experimental mode while they get it ready. It's already captured a CME and appears a worthy replacement for the LASCO views. Not sure when it will officially take over as the main coronagraph, but it's safe to say it is coming soon. Folks, those two storm systems are strong over in the east. Philippines getting battered now while Cyclone Dana churns in the Bay of Bengal. The Philippine storm is heading west towards Vietnam this week, while the other is going to slide north towards Bangladesh. Prayers are with them. Lastly, on the science front, the Oak Ridge National Lab has come out and said that plants are actually eating up much more carbon than everyone had originally believed. This has clear directives for climate-related policy. First, it means that planting forests is by far the best idea for a global warming worrier, much better than, say, spraying poison in the sky. But also, it means that the carbon we do emit will go more into the growth of plants than cause some kind of climate chaos. Might want to look for something else that has been causing these changes in our atmosphere over the last century, eh?
Space weather activity is getting a little on the interesting side here. We have a number of sunspots out here on the eastern limb that is showing quite a bit of complexity here. It's going to be this area over here. Looks like it wants to pop off something significant. Let's see what we got here as far as the magnetogram image here. So I think the main area is going to be back over here, the significant sized one. I don't think it's been named yet, but it's quite large and it's very complex there in terms of the structure. All right, so magnetically complex sunspot out here, unnamed. You can just barely see it out here on the eastern limb. We'll get a better view of this tomorrow, but I think that's going to be of noteworthy value in terms of solar flare activity here in the coming days. But once it gets into a better perspective, a better Earth-directed view, a couple C flares out there, but overall, space weather activity is somewhat minor right now, for now. But that's subject to change here once these very active regions come into view. And you can see all these large plasma arches out here across the eastern limb. This is going to be something to watch here, folks. I'm telling you. Mark my words.
I ask our star families to continue to guide us and to give us the confirmations that we so much deserve when we look up to the skies and we pray to God and speak to our friends that live on other planets. It's nice to have a moment of peace. All of us deserve to be given an opportunity to be our best without the governance of governments. Don't worry about all of the warmongering that's going on right now. It's sad. Send hope, send compassion, send out waves of forgiveness and kindness, that these things will pass soon. For all the suffering that's going on in the planet, remember that this is also balanced by many moments of joy and wonderful experiences and beautiful things that happen all over our planet. Don't look into the black pool of misinformation. Be aware that it exists, but follow your path of love and truth, and ask that our star families continue to guide us, because the moment that they come down and speak to you is when you are ready. We are all given an opportunity, and at some point in our lives, God calls our name. And whether you see a star family or people from other worlds as a God, that's up to you. For me, as an evolutionary species in this timeline, in this dimension, I see our friends from other worlds guiding us, caring for us, and letting us know that they're there. Whether they choose to appear in this film or not, it doesn't really matter, because I've had such an amazing experience with them. They know I'm speaking to them. And every once in a while I turn my camera up and I ask them to make their presence known, so that other people who aren't so close to them as I am, or some of my other friends are, get an opportunity to see what we're talking about. I don't always expect an interstellar conveyance to show up, but when they do show up, it's a real joy, because it's just another confirmation of existence, and that there's so many beautiful things happening in our galaxy, and that we're part of that. Being part of that is such a special thing. All we have to do is remember we're not alone. We never have been. And that they're with us. And they're looking down on us. And they interact with us. Sometimes they interact with us individually, and sometimes as whole groups. But right now, I feel very close to them. And as I feel this closeness, I send them great thoughts and prayers of gratitude for this beautiful life that we're in. Everyday struggles fall to the side when we take these moments to enjoy the stars and to look up to the sky and send out our hearts and send out our thoughts to our friends who live above, the holy people who live in the sky, and let them know that we love them and we know that they're there.
Transportation within the city comes in many forms. Most people just prefer to walk if they can. We also have electromagnetic sleds. These sleds are capable of moving along the ground, looking much like a snowmobile, and will produce fairly high speeds in some of the side tunnels. This can take us, for instance, from Shasta to our secondary city, which is near Lawson, in just a matter of a few minutes, and is able to take our security from Shasta to Lawson and back again very fast. Another form of transportation within the city is what we call baskets. They are run on crystalline technology, and for all the world they look like a large basket, but they float through the air. And you just get in it, and it is guided by your mind. Your mind tells you how fast to move, how high to go, and where to sit down, how fast to rise in the air, how fast to sit down. All our forms of technology and travel is based on us being responsible. The sleds could obtain high speeds, thus making them dangerous. The baskets, anything that flies, has a tendency to be dangerous, misused. So all communication and all travel within the city is monitored by the control tower. And the control tower knows when, for instance, a collision is just about ready to be inevitable between two sleds coming from different directions, or when a person is operating a basket irresponsibly, in which case the control tower alerts you immediately and tells you that you are about to produce an accident or you are acting irresponsibly. And if you do not listen to their warning, then they will simply stop the vehicle themselves. You get out, and you will be restricted from use of the transportation for ever how long a period of time that you deserved, should I say. And how it'll simply be is that you'll get in a basket or on a sled, and it simply won't work. It will, your frequency will be turned off to it anywhere in the city. And on what is called the tubes. The tubes are another form of transportation. The tubes are a high-powered, a high-speed electromagnetic train that runs in a tube. The tube is a rock cylinder very, very much like a long tunnel. For instance, a tube running between Positid and Telos. The tube looks totally round and the train looks somewhat like a subway. However, since it runs on an electromagnetic impulse, it creates a force field around it. So thus the side of the train never touches the side of the tunnel. Thus the tube is able to achieve speeds of up to 3,000 miles an hour. So you can arrive between, for instance, Telos and Positid in just a matter of a few hours. Also, as the tubes were created and the sub-cities and the different levels, it was all reinforced by what we call our boring machines. The boring machines have a crystalline matrix that creates temperatures of white-hot incandescence, yet cools at the same time. Thus you are able to take a boring machine, for instance, through a tunnel and create a tube tunnel, or to create walls in a subterranean city in just a matter of a few minutes. The boring machine heats rock, earth, whatever it comes across to a white-hot incandescence and then cools it almost immediately, which creates a diamond-hard substance. It causes the rock itself to transmute and take a new form, which is diamond-hard, and thus there's no need of supports. Supports become absolutely superfluous, and the structure then is also watertight, yet it remains in elasticity. So it can withstand high earthquakes, for instance, and will just move much like a rubber tube and stop without breaking. That way, even within the subterranean cities, when earthquakes take place, none of the walls of the buildings or of the caverns fracture. They simply move with it, then return back to the diamond-hard substance, and again support beams and such become totally superfluous. Also, water has no effect upon it. They become watertight. Thus the subterranean cities can even be built underneath oceans because they create a complete seal.